Hey there, fellow anime enthusiasts. Welcome back to Gaga's Fiction, the channel where we dive deep into the most mind-bending, fan-fueled crossover scenarios. Today, we're about to embark on a journey that'll leave you wondering, what if Naruto, the ninja who captured our hearts, found himself in the action-packed world of high school DD? Yes, you heard it right. We're talking about a high school reincarnation scenario for the one and only Naruto Uzumaki. But wait, there's a twist. What if, instead of his ninja adventures, Naruto sealed the Bijuus and then started his new life as a student at Kuo Academy? Get ready for some epic battles, new friendships, and maybe even a little romance. Will Naruto's ninja skills be enough to handle the supernatural challenges of the high school DD universe? It's a crossover you never knew you needed, and we're about to explore the possibilities in today's video. But before we jump right into it, don't forget to check out the video summary and the entire playlist in the description below. And if you're as excited as we are about this crossover, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode of Gaga's Fiction. Alright, let's dive into the world where ninja meets the supernatural. When a hero is born, destined to combat all the evils that cross their path, destined to confront beings vastly superior to them, and fated to lead a solitary life throughout their existence, only then does a grand and wondrous prophecy come to fruition. This hero, who in their childhood was despised, mistreated, marginalized, and loathed solely for something they never wished to possess, has traversed an arduous and painful journey until this very day. At times, it becomes imperative to make sacrifices for that which one ardently desires. Initially, the hero yearned with their whole being for recognition, yearning for those who harbored disdain for them to acknowledge their true worth. However, this desire for recognition ultimately evolved into a profound longing to safeguard their family. They yearned for a family, and today, the hero destined to fulfill this remarkable prophecy realized something of great significance: they were not part of the prophecy. It was not their destiny, it did not belong to them, it was never meant to be their cherished heroism. But, what prophecy are we discussing here? This prophecy had been passed down through the generations, extolling the much-awaited hero. It did not originate with them, nor did it belong to their father, mentor, or ancestors. The prophecy had been misconstrued, there was no such hero. And no, this was not referring to the already fulfilled, or as far as it had been, prophecy of the wise toad. In my dreams, I see that you will become a great ninja, and one day, you will have a pupil. This pupil will be responsible for a great revolution in the world, one that will ultimately bring either peace or destruction to the world. The outcome will determine the fate of all. You will be their teacher, their sensei, and you will face a difficult decision. The path you choose will determine the destiny of the entire world. You will travel the world and write a book. I do not even understand the reason myself, but you will journey throughout the world, witnessing all the creations of life, observing how everything takes shape, its direction, and its destiny. Up until that point, all was well. They were the chosen one, and they had indeed fulfilled the words of the great Rikudo Sennin. They were chosen to unite the Bijuus and guide them along the right path. So far so good. But what lay beyond that, the wondrous prophecy, or rather, it could not be called a prophecy. It was more like a reality. Before chakra, what existed? Before Ninshu, before the Shinobi no Seikai, humans existed before Rikudo Sennin. Therefore, the propensity for war had always resided in the human genes. Even if they fulfilled the prophecy uttered by the wisest, what would happen next? Would they maintain peace? But when they passed away, what would humans do? There was no doubt that war would ensue, and it would be far worse than the ambitions of Obito Uchiha and Madara Uchiha or Kaguya Otsutsuki, the rabbit goddess. A deep sigh filled the air. Damn it, after all these years of traversing this arduous path, so many decisions that altered the course of events, so many deeds that might not have been worthwhile, how could they call themselves a hero? They could not. They did not even consider themselves worthy of fulfilling this reality or prophecy, whichever term one preferred. Their friend, someone as close as a brother. What a lie that was. They did not hate him, but who would trust a fool who nearly got them killed, left them unconscious just to prevent them from ruining things even further? As if the war was not enough, all because he wanted a revolution after the war. Damn these Uchihas. Sasuke lay on the ground, missing an arm, unconscious, and they stared at him. His stubbornness and idiocy, the darkness in his heart, had compelled them to harm him. They wanted to help him, but even someone like them knew that what Sasuke Uchiha had done was unforgivable. Perhaps they could guide him onto the right path, they knew it would work, but good and evil could not coexist for long, together or apart. Sasuke Uchiha would simply become trash like Madara Uchiha. The Uchihas, not all of them, were a blight on the world. But, in truth, it was not only them, everyone was a blight, causing their own extinction. And if, out there in the vast cosmos, there were other beings like Kaguya Otsutsuki, or even worse. Damn it. All they wanted was to rest. They had spent their entire life fighting for others. They deserved respite, but they would not have it as long as the false, ninshu, or also known as, ninjutsu, existed. The true one, only a few had understood it, or maybe just they and their predecessor, to be more precise. After the culmination of the final battle, they pondered what would come next. What would follow the battle? Or war itself? Would there truly be peace? Even knowing that there might be even worse beings out there. Life sometimes proved to be a difficult and painful journey. A hero. Were they truly a hero? Whatever the answer, they had made many wrong decisions. This would not be one of them. It was time to cleanse the world. Their dearest friend. Or what little family they had, to be precise. Kurama remained sealed alongside their brethren in a jutsu crafted by Sasuke, the bearer of the legendary Duojutsu, the Rinnegan, the eye of a deity. They knew that ninjutsu would continue from generation to generation. The world still languished under a potent jutsu created by the mightiest form of the Rinnegan. They needed to break this cycle, to put an end once and for all to the world's malevolence. How foolish that thought sounded, but it was them, a foolish child in the eyes of others. Poor fools. Without them, many would already be dead. They were hypocrites. While they were weak and mediocre, they treated them like trash. They could already imagine how they would be treated. It would all be a vile falsehood. Thus, from the very root, from the beginning, they needed to stop the true enemy. Humans. One of their ancestors had created ninjutsu, corrupting ninshu. To be exact, it was Indra Otsutsuki, their brother Asura Otsutsuki, who wanted to plunge humans once again into eternal warfare. Which meant that the one who came closest to achieving peace was their predecessor, Rikudo Sennin. Then, as the next, Nidaime Rikudo Sennin, he had to do the opposite of his predecessor. Even if they labeled him a villain, even if it meant sacrificing himself, he was determined to fulfill his family's dream, his parents, his teachers, his ancestors, and his very own. He no longer wanted to witness his true friend being used as a weapon or his family giving their lives for a lost cause. Everything had been decided. The mark on his palm radiated with intensity. He was enveloped in the six-path sage chakra cloak, his transformation rendering him immensely powerful, the most powerful. He entered sage mode, his pupils changed. Slowly, he approached his fallen friend, took his hand, and removed the Uchiha's seal, transferring it to his other hand. Sun and moon, good and evil, yin and yang, together in one being, seamlessly, as it should be. Enough with the pretense. Damn it, he knew he was on a level nearly equal to, if not superior to, that of Kaguya Otsutsuki, who the hell sealed her away. Him, and only him. The Uchiha had been brutally defeated. If it weren't for the Duojutsus, the Uchiha wouldn't stand a chance against him, well, not in his most powerful state. No one could match him. With his predecessor gone and his equal sealed away, he was a god, towering above all humans, whether ninja or not. So much power accumulated in his body, in his genes, bestowed upon him, so much power. Studying his rival attentively, he smiled warmly and nostalgically. He had to take both, Duojutsu, away from him. First, the Rinnegan, then the Sharingan. Now, the tricky part would be implanting them in himself. He could do it, he was a sage, after all. Spending time with Tsunade Senju had its advantages, like learning a decent level of medical ninjutsu. It would be impossible to implant them himself, but not for him, his clones would suffice. He was a sage, the last sage in the entire world. His chakra and its usage were limitless, just as his ability to manipulate yin and yang was, being the Nidaime Rikudo Sennin. He had time to execute this operation, there was no need to rush. He would take his time if he wanted it to be perfect. He had to be patient, he couldn't damage the Duojutsus. That would complicate things, hinder his plan. So, without hesitation, he sat down, channeling all the natural energy surrounding him in that lifeless battlefield. In this heightened state of power, he could potentially reach the 5 elemental nations, so gathering natural energy wouldn't be difficult, it would just take time, as he needed a vast amount of it. With his eyes closed, he patiently awaited his body to absorb as much natural energy as possible. The serenity and tranquility that came with becoming one with the purest energy, merging with the world itself, in that battlefield silence, the patient breeze touching every part of his being, the ability to harmonize with nature itself, these factors fueled his determination to carry out his plan. He opened his eyes, radiating absolute power, without the need for hand signs. 10 clones, charged with natural energy and cloaked in the chakra of the Rikudo Senin, appeared. They began their work, and with a simple puff, various tools necessary for the upcoming operation materialized. Lying down beside the Uchiha, he widened his eyes as much as possible. 3 clones stood beside him, while 5 clones stood beside the Uchiha. One was positioned above them, and another below them. All 10 clones sat cross-legged, some still gathering energy that enveloped both bodies, while others would perform the operation. Nothing could infect or disturb the duojutsus that would spell trouble for the plan. They condensed the air and enclosed themselves in a dome of chakra. 2 of the 3 clones beside him began the operation, sedating and relaxing the Uchiha. It would hurt, but he had to endure it. Carefully, they removed the first eye, the 3rd clone rapidly healing any issues. They proceeded with the other eye, following the same process. A few minutes passed, and the eyes were covered in chakra, vanishing as their chakra was released, while another clone held the eyes, transforming them into ordinary black eyes. 1 clone removed the Uchiha's first eye with great care, while 4 other clones constantly supplied natural energy to heal any problems and allow him to accept his new eyes. They then proceeded with the second eye, following the same process. When both eyes were removed, they inserted the new eyes into the Uchiha, with complete success. They had been working for several hours, though it felt like mere minutes. Now, it was his turn. The Uchiha's first eye was placed in his left socket, bearing the Sharingan, with utmost care to ensure his body accepted the eye. The same was done with the second eye, now housing the Rin Sharingan, in his right socket. Now, all that was left was to wait. The clones disappeared, having successfully completed their task. Alone, lying down, with his eyes closed, he waited. He had to wait a little longer since constantly using natural energy and conducting the operation while in the Rikudo Senin, transformation would facilitate and hasten the process. It was just a matter of waiting for a few more minutes for his Uzumaki genes, his body, his chakra to fully embrace the new additions and powers. After the necessary time had passed, knowing he was ready to continue, he stood up. For now, he only needed the Rinnegan. Opening his right eye to reveal the glorious Rinnegan, he whispered some words into the wind. His friend's body was enveloped in natural energy, healing him, restoring his lost arm. 11 dark spheres floated behind him, the Gato-dama, truth-seeking balls. The six-path staff, in his right hand took flight without a fixed destination. The blonde followed its trajectory, not before roots ensnared the bodies of his team, as up to this point, they were the only ones left to face Kaguya Otsutsuki. Although Sakura and Kakashi had fallen much earlier, before he sealed the rabbit goddess. He stopped atop a massive tree's peak, where numerous shinobi were trapped. Those capable of molding chakra, at least. Others guarding the villagers were scattered elsewhere, but that wouldn't pose a problem. He extended his staff. Nothing happened. The tree didn't budge. He was patient, exceedingly patient. His Rinnegan took the form of the glorious Rin Sharingan. The tree reacted to him, roots expanded, gradually traversing the world. Every place, whether underground or not, was discovered by the roots. Everything that was once occupied by a person was now entwined within roots, much like the individuals themselves, deep in slumber. After several hours, possibly days, but what did it matter? Time held no significance for him at this moment. Every living being in the ninja world was under the terrible jutsu, except for himself and the Bijuus. His predecessor appeared before him, yet he simply continued his task. He undid the seal that held his friend, Kurama, and his siblings. They stood before the 2 Rikudo Senin, the old and the young. Naruto, the name escaped the lips of the one who had been with him since his birth. The other tailed beasts awaited the conversation that would follow, as it would determine the fate of the world. There is no such prophesied hero, as described by the ancient gods, Naruto stated calmly, while his predecessor stared at him intently, then offered a bitter smile. How do you know that? Dared to ask the elder named Hagoromo Otsutsuki, also known as the Rikudo Senin. He knew the answer perfectly well but either didn't want to accept it or was seeking a different response from the young man before him. They mocked the first civilization, long before chakra even existed, much earlier. The ones who created humanity, or rather, those who did, their prophecy was a clear reflection. They live in constant war and conflict amongst themselves. Why not have fun watching mere puppets do the same? The reality is they are in perpetual war, the blonde explained his viewpoint calmly without pausing in his task. The tree continued to consume the world with its roots, ensnaring all living beings. Why do you arrive at such a conclusion? Questioned his red-furred friend. Now at 100% with both parts merged into one, he had become the most powerful tailed beast, second only to the sealed, 10 tails, or perhaps even superior. Watching his friend, his cub, wield such power made him proud and happy. He genuinely cared for this brat, even though the war had been the final trigger for them to work together. They had gotten along since before, and a memory flashed in his mind at that moment, making a comparison between then and now. Begin flashback. Naruto walked alone through the dark streets of Konoha, for it was late, around 10 p.m. A child shouldn't walk alone on the streets at this hour, but nobody wanted him, nobody accepted him. Simply because he had that darn fox inside him. No, he couldn't blame the fox for his misfortune, though it was a pain in the neck. He actually liked having someone to talk to, even if it was just the fox. At least that kept him sane. I don't know why these fools hate you so much for carrying me. Well, they're stupid for thinking you're me. Ha, what idiots. The blonde paid no attention to the words of his tenant. Sometimes, he wished he could die just to escape all the hatred. Such disdain bred dark thoughts in the mind of an innocent child. Hey kid, just give in. They'll never accept you as one of them. Let me take control, and I'll free you from all this pain. Dash. You're a fool, fox. If I do that, I'll be no different from them. I don't care if they don't want to acknowledge me, but listen to me carefully. I, Naruto Uzumaki, will become the greatest ninja and the best Hokage, and everyone will recognize me, even you, you damn fleabag. The Kyuubi, inside Naruto, smirked mockingly, though his mind had different thoughts. You're just all talk, kid. Let's see how long that willpower of yours lasts before it breaks. I've got all the time in the world to wait. End flashback. Naruto had an unbreakable will. He had known that since that day. That brat was truly exceptional, bordering on idiotic, but he was his dearest friend. Hence, he was surprised by this new line of thinking, as he knew where it would lead. His will had never wavered, he knew that it was impossible to break it. He looked into his pacified gaze, a Naruto very different from the one before the war. But his thoughts had indeed changed. That's why they say war changes you. Just think about it. Naruto raised his staff. From it emerged a sphere that expanded, displaying a very ancient language, the divine language, as it was known by the first humans. I only found a bit of history from the ancient land to which my mother arrived. We don't know for sure if we translated it incorrectly or misunderstood the message. There are so many possibilities. Why limit ourselves to just one? The elder encouraged Naruto to debate. He needed to understand the reasoning behind his successor's actions. So many lies from my predecessor. Ha! Are you trying to mock me? You, they, and I all know that it wasn't a prophecy, and if it was, it wasn't meant for this world or this time, the blonde countered, all while continuing his task. The tree continued consuming the world with its roots. I contemplate many things, perhaps the prophecy was not a mere prophecy but rather something more enlightening. Simply among those who shaped this world, there was someone who could foresee events. That is not so unusual, this individual would have known that we would examine the clues scattered in that ancient world. Who knows, maybe I am the hero, and I must decide. Nevertheless, I do not view it as a prophecy. To me, it is merely a revelation. And if I am indeed the supposed hero, then I choose that this world of war, ceases to exist, proclaimed the blonde without hesitation. The orb extinguished, the jutsu was completed, and the entire world fell into a deep slumber. His predecessor remained silent, and the Bijuus maintained their silence, except for Kurama. After I release them from the jutsu, what comes next? More war? More pain? Suffering? Perhaps there will be a brief period of peace, but when we are gone, those who maintain peace will be gone. Once I pass into eternal rest, Kurama and its brethren will depart from this world because future generations will seek to use them again. Damn it, you know we are not all the same. I can impart my knowledge to them, but after my departure to eternal rest, who will continue to instruct them? And so on. But we know very well that we do not all think alike. Many will crave this power, and more, much more. Tyrants will always exist, some more ruthless than others. If what we have done now only leads to something worse, a war that will end the world itself, but But as the revelation or prophecy says, chaos resides within humans. In their essence, they are total chaos. Few comprehend that, and chakra only amplifies that chaos. So, I will eradicate it, take away their most powerful weapon, limit them as they were originally. All that has been lived was and will be a dream that they will gradually forget. If they continue the wars, well, let them suffer, I will do nothing more for them. But if I prevent them from continuing to destroy the world, then I will do so. Is that not my decision? I am the chosen one, so I choose to save this world, as its inhabitants only bring about its destruction. Thus, I will only limit their radius of destruction to themselves. The blonde extended both arms, and the roots of the tree spread all over the world, beginning to extract the chakra from all living beings. An aura of various colors, according to the being from which it was extracted, emerged and traveled through all the roots. A root emerged beneath where the only awake individuals were, joining Naruto, giving him all the chakra. Wouldn't that make you a tyrant? Everyone looked expectantly at the blonde, for Shukaku's question was important. And you still doubt that? My dream has faded away, this war has shown me reality. I wanted to be accepted, I wanted to be like them, never to be a superior being, as I am now. So many revelations, I know things I should not know, I have seen things I wish to forget. I let innocent people die just to follow the most justifiable course to peace. I pretended to be someone I am not, for that's enough. I am tired of so many lies told to myself. I lived alone, with Kurama as my only company, without any contact, without a mother's love, a father, or any family. Always despised, and they want me to simply save their lives. I would do it, really, I would, for I never expected anything in return, but to think they can rule me or be superior to others, to me, to you, makes them tyrants. I just want to rest from so much falsehood and deceit, the blonde continued. They are like that. I thought you knew that. Did I make a mistake about my successor? The elder smiled, the others present only listened to the conversation. It wasn't a debate, it was just a conversation between a father and his son. He only wanted the young man to vent his accumulated hatred and pain, but the next words would be the most powerful spoken. So far. I will seal myself with all the chakra so that it does not spread, even if it hurts me. You are the best and purest chakra, so I will seal you with me, in a place inaccessible to any being, a place where we can sleep in peace. Death is not an option, for my body will be the vessel that holds all the power. I will destroy the moon and create a new one, absorbing the one my predecessor created. Even if they oppose it, that is how it will be. The blonde had pain on his face, tears heavy with all his pain in his eyes, but he would not back down, he would never do that. The Bijuus were surprised by the audacity of the blonde but even more by the joy and happiness they saw on their creator's face. Kurama stared at him before extending his enormous fist towards him. Naruto smiled and bumped fists with him. The chakra was still being extracted, slowly but steadily, at a consistent pace. The blonde's attire tore, exposing only his torso. A complex seal appeared, covering the entire area from the heart to the middle of the abdomen and halfway up the chest, ending near his right shoulder and near the base of his neck, while he kept his fists together. Kurama shone in a reddish hue as it was absorbed by the complex seal Naruto had created. After a few seconds, Kurama was sealed within Naruto. Son Goku was next. With one of his massive fingers, he touched the blonde's shoulder, and the same happened to him as his brother Kurama. Shukaku and Matatabi followed suit, and both were sealed. Isabu, Seiken, Kokuo, Chomei, and Gyuki were sealed in that order. Black chakra was infused into the seal by a root, followed by other spheres of different colors. The Gutodama, truth-seeking balls, shone. The first one was covered in a reddish-brown dark opaque color, with Ribi written on it. The second one was covered in a reddish-brown bluish hue, with Ichibi written on it. Him. The third one was covered in a reddish-blue dark hue, with Nibi written on it. The fourth one was covered in a reddish-gray pale shade, with Sanbi written on it. The fifth one was covered in a reddish-bright red-orange hue, with Inbi written on it. The sixth one was covered in a reddish-whitish-bluish opaque hue, with Gobi written on it. The seventh one was surrounded by a reddish-purple pale gray opaque shade, with Rakubi written on it. The eighth one was encircled by a reddish-green grayish-bluish-orange opaque hue, with Nanabi written on it. The ninth one was covered in a reddish-purple blackish-pale pink shade, with Hachibi written on it. The 10th one was covered in a reddish-opaque red bright orange dark opaque hue, with Kyubi written on it. The 11th one only shone in the center of all these, waiting to be completed. The elder gradually disappeared, his spirit fading from the face of the earth. The blonde had to finish what he had started. All the chakra had been removed from every living being, and with it, all chakra and its derivatives. The Shinju, God tree, still remained active. In an unknown time. Naruto was unaware of how much time had passed in order to completely recreate the world. Everyone who possessed knowledge of chakra and its usage would never remember it again. As they woke up, they would all awaken from a simple dream, leading normal and mundane lives as ordinary humans. Everything that once was no more. Simple villages akin to the early civilizations, and all humans, would no longer have any connection to chakra. The blonde gazed up at the moon, and in a brief flash, he disappeared, reappearing in the space above the moon. With his now limitless chakra and power, he created a new moon out of thin air, a simple jutsu for his current level of power, much greater than a mere kami. Having the Rinnegan certainly made the creation of anything easier. He could be considered one of the most powerful beings in the universe, although he was unaware of anyone more powerful. In his current state of power, he simply didn't care. The blonde absorbed the ancient moon entirely. If there was life that possessed chakra or not, it simply merged into his immense and limitless chakra. However, he knew which clan was on the moon, so without any remorse, he turned them into mere masses of power. He disappeared again in a flash. He appeared above the Shinju, and thousands of roots connected to the body of the powerful and unique ninja. Slowly but surely, the tree and every trace of chakra or ninja history were absorbed by the blonde. Until the Shinju disappeared, along with all traces of chakra, the final Gotodama was finally completed, covered in a dark red-white energy, with Juubi inscribed. His work was complete. Thousands of simple human homes, thousands of humans scattered throughout what was once known as the Shinobi continent, were now just a land inhabited by humans in a dream from which they would soon awaken, to continue with the routine of common humans. His work was done, but what about him? He could finally sleep peacefully, even though he was still young. He was tired of so much pain and suffering. He just wanted to sleep. His vision darkened, and the Nidaime Rikudo Sennin became a simple human once again, a simple blonde, a simple Naruto. He plummeted swiftly to the hard ground, and before things went awry, and he lost consciousness from the effort of maintaining his power, he decided to seal himself and perhaps sleep eternally, to forget that he existed or ever would, before all his power was contained. He made a huge seal on the ground with his bow in his hand, which he would reach soon, then another enormous seal over himself. A few whispers, and his transformation and consciousness faded away, perhaps forever. In an unknown time. A black-haired human wept bitterly over the body of his wife, up until that moment. His daughter lay lifeless a few meters away. As he looked around, everything was in flames, his village being attacked and devoured by a war among supreme beings, gods. In an unknown time. A blue-haired human fished peacefully, enjoying the breeze that gently brushed his face. A peaceful village, where he hailed from, ignorant in the eyes of those above. In an unknown time. We observe planet Earth, once occupied by various beings, now nothing more than total chaos, without order, without life, without anything upon it. In an unknown time. Planet Earth returned to its splendor, teeming with life, seas, oceans, rivers, lakes, fauna, flora, a beautiful planet, better than it was. However, this revived planet couldn't escape the attention of other supremely powerful beings. The planet was once again occupied by these great beings, perpetuating the war. But there were no humans, instead, there were gods, a world of gods, fighting for supremacy. In an unknown time. Humans once again set foot on the beautiful planet Earth, but its inhabitants were consuming it in destruction. Once more, the world suffered, and so did he. The world was growing tired of being seen as a battlefield. In an unknown time. Earth became uninhabitable once more, a war that devastated all existence on Earth. Humans never seem to learn to care for what they have, the Earth. In their existence, they brought suffering. In an unknown time. Humans were a good creation in the eyes of the god Elohim. They only needed guidance, direction. This sentiment was shared by most of his counterparts, who believed in guiding humans as well. Thus, each of them took a piece of land, with Elohim ruling over most of the planet. He had restored it to its glory. He didn't mind other gods taking a portion of the planet to reign over those humans who believed in them and drew strength from their faith. Elohim had an incredible interest in this previously devastated world. He had brought it back to its prime, and then he decided to resurrect the human. Previous attempts had failed, but being one of the most powerful beings at the time, aside from the dragons, he caught the attention of many other pantheons of gods and factions of other beings inhabiting the vast cosmos. Time passed, and the human seemed to be a force for good. There were no problems, and his angels aided him. But not everything is always rosy. It was at this point in history that the demons were created, leading to the sacred war, the first of many to come. So, Elohim, watching from his throne in the vast sky, patiently observed as his angels tried to contain the demons. Other beings got involved, and the demons multiplied in number. His angels divided into two factions, the angels and the fallen angels. Elohim couldn't help but sigh in frustration, in an unknown time. The planet had suffered greatly, thanks to humans, gods, dragons, and other beings. This would eventually lead to the planet's demise, unless someone insane decided to destroy it again. In the Earth's core, asleep peacefully, a beautiful baby was about to awaken. The Earth itself, an almost non-existent existence, launched its counterattack against those consuming it in destruction. This supreme being imprisoned within it had slept long enough. It was time for it to return to life and protect what it had longed to defend for eons, restoring order. The planet, an exceedingly strange existence with life thanks to this being, had to understand that everything had its course, sometimes slow to follow. But with millions of accumulated lives, waiting a bit longer wouldn't be a problem. In an unknown place and time, a 7-year-old black-haired boy gazed strangely at a small baby sleeping among some bushes, oblivious to the danger around it. The boy had an idea, so he ran as fast as he could back to his home. Meanwhile, the little blonde baby gently opened its eyes, as a new and long life smiled upon it. A cry marked the beginning of a new era. 10 years later, unknown location. A mother, I had a nightmare again. The young blonde hurriedly slipped under the sheets of his mother's modest bed. The raven-haired woman smiled lovingly as she embraced him with all the affection in the world. "Don't worry, my dear son. I'll always be here for you, my love." The child smiled, forgetting all his fears and dangers. The little blonde let himself be enveloped by all the love emanating from that loving woman. 2 years later, in the underworld. A blonde, with curious marks on his cheeks, wept bitterly, pounding the hard rocky ground, his hands covered in blood mixed with dirt and tears. The woman who had loved and cared for him since she found him lay dead a few meters away. Why? Oh. You. He couldn't even articulate a single word, the pain was consuming him. Naruto. Naruto. Don't. Do. This. Rage consumed him. Why couldn't he prevent it? Did life hate him so much? She was not to blame for anything, she was an innocent woman. He couldn't help it, demons were like this, they had always been, monsters. He had to exterminate them all. His eyes turned red, with pupils slit vertically, his fangs grew, and the marks on his cheeks darkened even more. Roar. The beast had awakened. All those who had made him suffer would experience the most terrible fate possible. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but it's not time yet. You need to rest." Memories flooded his mind, blurry memories, a war, a village, a beast, and more events. His head hurt, but who is Naruto? Sleep. Suddenly, all that power that had been felt for a brief moment disappeared, leaving no trace. The blonde fell unconscious in a matter of seconds, a huge tattoo on his chest became apparent, and a staff appeared beside him. 2 years later, underworld. A blonde man, bearing curious marks on his cheeks, wept bitterly, his hands soaked in blood, a mixture of blood, earth, and tears. The woman who had loved and cared for him since she found him lay dead a few meters away, and for him, there was no more painful sight. Incomprehensible sobbing. Incomprehensible sobbing. He couldn't even articulate a single word, the pain was consuming him, burning his heart and clouding his judgment. Naruto. Naruto. No. Don't. Rage seized him. Why couldn't he prevent it? Did life hate him so much? She was not to blame for anything, she was an innocent woman. He couldn't help it, demons were like that, they had always been monsters. He had to exterminate them all. His eyes turned red, with pupils slit vertically, his fangs elongated, and the marks on his cheeks darkened. Roar. The beast had awakened, and all those who had caused him this suffering would suffer in the most terrible way possible. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but it's not time yet. You must rest." Memories flooded his mind, blurry memories of a war, a village, a beast, and more. His head throbbed, but who is Naruto? Sleep. Suddenly, all that power that had briefly surged vanished, leaving no trace. The blonde man fell unconscious within seconds, and a large tattoo on his chest became visible. A staff appeared next to him. Tilde XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Mother, I found a baby in the forest. Well, let's go, even though it's a bit strange. The cries of the infant hastened their steps, and as they say, it was love at first sight. The woman was captivated, maybe it was just her, but she swore she saw the baby surrounded by a divine, soothing aura, as if nature itself was always with him. Perhaps it was just her. The woman approached the baby carefully, so as not to frighten him. Her son watched with curiosity. Calm down, little one. The woman lovingly took the baby into her arms, and as he felt the touch and the tranquility provided by the unfamiliar woman, he calmed down and even fell back asleep, soothed by her gentle lullaby. Seeing the baby calm and sleeping so peacefully, the woman couldn't help but smile joyfully. Could he be my new little brother? I've been asking for one. Surprise adorned her face. What are you saying, son? She exclaimed, flustered. The boy simply looked at his mother, surprised because she was blushing and stammering incoherently. That's not how you make siblings, the woman said gently. But could he be one? The boy seemed unwilling to give in. We don't know to whom this baby belongs, perhaps his father left him here, who knows, maybe his mother is nearby. I don't think so, the woman looked at her son because he kept drawing significant conclusions for his young age. What do you mean? It's easy. The baby is naked, only a few months old, and there's nothing around here that uses reason like us, mother. We live far from civilization. Either someone abandoned him here, or it's destiny. What did you do with my son, you fool? I'll tell father you called me a fool. I deduced all of this because father has been teaching me since I can't go to a regular school. Ha ha ha. I'm just teasing you, my love. You might be right. We'll keep the baby, and when your father returns, we'll decide what to do. Come, let's go home. All right, mother. Tilde at night. So, that's what happened. That's right, dear. Yes, father, confirmed the boy. Son, please excuse us for a moment. A strong, blue-haired man ordered the boy, who obeyed instantly. Truth be told, dear, I can't help but wonder, who would leave a baby in the middle of nowhere? It's not normal. Besides, he's a human, and we're not. We're far removed from the human world. I don't like this. Are you thinking of leaving him outside or simply ignoring him? While what you say is true, why would they leave the child here in the underworld? How did they get here? Something must have happened. No, I didn't mean that, and you know it. Ah, woman. Since our son mentioned it, why don't we keep him? He doesn't seem to be a threat, and apparently, his parents didn't want him. We won't condemn a child to a life he doesn't deserve. Besides, there's no need to involve him in our world. We just have to keep it hidden until it's necessary. Hide it? How will we hide an entirely different world from him? The human is ignorant of our world, mostly, and although the child doesn't seem to have anything that merits being something wonderful, I don't mean he's insignificant, I mean perhaps what happened to him was a mistake, one that we all make without exception, or maybe they didn't want him up there, who knows, so many possibilities. Hiding him is simple. Where we live, we are thousands of kilometers away from the demon society, and there is no danger. I will find books and human things to show him and let him learn about his world. When he's capable of facing a world like ours, we'll tell him, I promise, dear. Having a child wouldn't hurt. I love you. The woman embraced the man tightly and gave him a deep kiss. Her husband was undeniably kind-hearted. Tilde XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX mountains, was the most fascinating thing for the young blonde boy. I can't believe it. You can't just come here and tell a child that he's a kami. Dash. Besides, who is Naruto? It's me. That's right. Don't you remember anything? Then why can't I remember it? Tell me if it's so difficult to grasp this. Why don't you seem surprised? Sometimes I dreamed of different things, a world like the one you describe, but I didn't tell my Mo. Don't be afraid to open up. I can understand if you want to. What happened to you resembles your past life a bit, although I shouldn't tell you much because it's your duty to remember and accept such memories. I won't force you into anything, I just can't. Dash. What's wrong? What's your name? You have no idea, I must be among those dreams of yours. There are many, but you emit something significant, a divine presence. We're off to a good start, you're starting to grasp the essence of beings. If I'm considered a god, at least in those days, today, no one even knows anything about me. It comforts me to know that they don't remember you either. Ha ha ha. A god, then this place is. I don't know because, like you, I've been asleep for a long time. Tell me, do I have to remember who I am and accept it just like that? It's complex because you will always be Naruto, and nothing will change that. But we don't know if you will remember everything as it is or if your mind will play with those memories. Who knows, many possibilities. What was I like? I'll summarize it in the simplest words. The best of all. Dash. Do I have to be that now? How long have I been asleep? Why don't I know who I am? Dash. Why don't I remember anything? Why did I become young again if you say I was already an adult or going to be? Son, only you can find those answers. I'm afraid I can't help you with that. Even for me, it's more complicated than you think. You know more than you're telling me, don't you? Much more. I haven't lost my memories because I am the spirit of my former self, condemned or, let's say, graced to always be with you, or so it seems. Dash. What will you do now? The elderly man asked with great interest. I seek vengeance. Will you oppose me? I would say yes, but it would serve no purpose. The seal on your chest limits my existence, my power, it confines me to be what you want, but you won't prevent me from advising you or, in your preferred words, sermonizing you when necessary. Don't lie, you don't want to stop me. You're hiding many things, your intentions aren't clear. They shouldn't be. Dash. What's your name? Can you tell me, or do I have to remember it? You have to remember it. I shouldn't interfere with your memories, we shouldn't force them. Something tells me it's better for things to follow their natural course. Whoever woke us up had something planned, don't you think, Naruto? And will we allow ourselves to be manipulated? I'll call you old man until I remember your name. I apologize for my lack of manners in advance. He responded, avoiding the question. Ha ha ha, don't worry, you used to call me that. Now, let me ask you, Naruto, am I strong enough to seek vengeance? I awakened a strange power, that's true. You can't tell me anything about my past and myself. I'll limit myself to asking about that. So, I'll ask about the present now. Can you train me? I can do that. I'm not in a hurry, but it's better to start now, don't you think? You must reactivate your chakra. When you do, we'll begin. See you until then. The old man gradually disappeared. Wait. What is chakra? He exclaimed, frustration apparent as he was left stranded in the middle of nowhere by that darn old man. Hilda XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Bijuus. You called, mother. A blonde child, no older than 8, emerged from the bushes in response to the woman's call. He quickly made his way into the house. Dinner is ready, my dear. Come and eat, his mother beckoned. All right, mother. Tilda night, Bijuus's room, Naruto. The young blonde couldn't fall asleep, there was an ominous feeling that something bad was about to happen. Some noises made him open his eyes in the dark room. He couldn't make out the words clearly, but judging by the sounds, his mother was talking to others. A few minutes of silence were quickly replaced by sobbing. The blonde boy jumped out of his modest bed and rushed out of his room to the living room, where he found his mother in tears, clutching a tattered shirt. An old friend of his father consoled her with a saddened expression, and guards stood by the house entrance, their faces equally somber. Mother. His brother stepped forward and ran to the woman, who embraced him tightly. The blonde child walked slowly until he felt his mother's arms wrap around him, tears soaking his hair. I'm sorry. We couldn't do anything. Hansrul died in the explosion. This only intensified the woman's tears, now joined by those of her children. That night marked the beginning of a life filled with sorrow for this family. Hilda XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Naruto woke up in a panic. The campfire had died down, but he was not alone. A massive creature, a cross between an ox and a tiger, regarded him as prey. What was astonishing was that the tiger ox had not seen when the blonde began to run at an inhuman speed. The blonde ran through the forest in sheer terror, knowing he had to be fast or the creature would catch him within seconds. A gap in a huge tree would be his refuge from the enormous animal, so he darted inside without hesitation. The creature clawed ferociously at the trunk, each strike enlarging the small gap. The blonde was sweating profusely. Think of an energy that arises from within you and spreads throughout your body, then channel it to a specific point and release it like a gust of wind. That will repel the creature, a voice in his head advised. It sounds easy, but it's not, the blonde complained. Aren't you scared you're talking to yourself? The voice asked. With everything that's happened and in this situation, that comment doesn't matter. Besides, I know it's you, old man. Just do as I told you, the old man said irritably. Fine, fine. Let's see. Relax. Inhale, exhale. Forget the noise, feel the power, close your eyes. The animal was inches away from reaching the blonde when suddenly, without warning, the trunk was destroyed, and the creature fell dead. The blonde opened his eyes, which now shimmered with power. A bluish aura surrounded him. What just happened? You've done it, but it was a complete lack of control, the voice replied. Wow, is this chakra? You're disgusting. What? But I activated it just like you said. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I didn't express myself properly. What I mean is that this minimal amount, though highly uncontrolled, is nothing compared to your past self. Just imagine expanding that destructive radius for miles around. Damn, old man, you're annoying. You know, I have to remind you that I don't remember anything, and besides, this is a significant achievement, don't you think? Activating it on the first try. You're right. I guess being in a tight spot raised your emotions to the max. We have a lot of work to do, the old man sighed in frustration. The blonde grumbled softly, and the old man smiled. The blonde stared at the lifeless body of the strange animal for a few minutes. What is that? I don't know. I don't know where we are. That's the priority. But first, gather firewood, take the animal, and find a cave. You'll make yourself a shelter. Then, we'll start from scratch. Naruto began to inspect the strange animal, but he had no idea. In his old home, he had never ventured beyond his house and yard. He knew little about the world beyond what he had read in books. He shrugged indifferently, as it would serve as food for a few days. Dragging the animal, he searched for a cave to protect himself from the dangers of these unfamiliar lands. A few meters away, he spotted a cozy cave large enough for him. With a smile, he quickened his pace. Luck was on his side. There was no danger in that cave, which would be his new home. He placed the animal inside, covered it with some branches and dry leaves to avoid drawing attention if possible. Now he had food and shelter, but he needed to set up some traps for safety. He would also search for water and firewood, so he set off to gather the necessary materials. Hey, old man, the blonde called out to no one in particular. Tell me, the old man appeared beside the blonde, watching as he tied one vine to another, forming a vertical line across the cave entrance, connected to another horizontal vine at the entrance. This system was designed to hold a large number of logs. If someone attempted to approach and touch the horizontal rope, it would release the vertical one, causing a rain of heavy logs. You took your time, the old man observed, having surveyed many different traps in the area. By the time they finished talking, it was late, and it was time to sleep again. We have to be cautious. I don't know how to defend myself fully. I learned a bit about survival and traps from some books my father had, the blonde replied. I see, forgive me for being blunt, but you know those aren't your parents, right? How can a blonde be the child of a black-haired woman and a blue-haired man? The child smiled, and the old man returned the gesture. Rest. Tomorrow, we'll start looking for some civilization settled somewhere. We can't always stay isolated. It must be far. Father used to work very far away, and it took him a long time to come and go from the house. I suspected as much, but I didn't say we would do it soon. First, we need to learn how to defend ourselves from what's out there. The old man disappeared after seeing the blonde nod, satisfied with the completed trap. Now, let's eat. The blonde took a piece of meat from the fire in front of the cave, a bit away from the rest of the animal hanging nearby to attract attention and capture more food, with traps set around it. Naruto, breathe, relax, meditation is necessary. The best way to activate your chakra is through Shinjutsu, the old man instructed. The young blonde sat on a rock in a meditation posture, breathing calmly. You won't be able to enter Shinjutsu directly. It's currently impossible to master it, but that doesn't prevent you from entering a state directly with the three energies of the body, the first step of Shinjutsu. This will help you activate your chakra network, the old man explained. The young blonde began to feel his body differently, forgetting everything else. A bluish energy enveloped him, and the old man smiled. Just listen to my voice. You must remain in this state as long as possible, ideally for a full day and night. The blonde's concentration wavered upon hearing the old man's words, dispersing the energy from his body. What the hell are you saying? Are you crazy? I won't be able to. Are you really giving up so easily? Forget everything around you, forget all your problems and worries. Just become one with nature itself. The constant flow of chakra will activate your entire chakra network permanently, but it takes time and patience. Alright, I'm sorry, old man. Don't worry, start again. The blonde resumed his posture and calmness. It took him a few minutes to be surrounded by chakra, although it was inconsistent, coming and going. Being a sage is in his nature, the old man thought. I can't wait to teach him what I couldn't learn or perfect, the old man smiled with determination. He knew not what lay in this new world, this new time, but he had to prepare Naruto for enemies even worse than his mother. Hilda XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. A blonde child around 7 years old watched from behind some bushes as his older brother, about 15, was being trained by one of the soldiers. After their father's death, many bad things happened, and the family was torn apart. When his brother asked one of the soldiers, a friend of their deceased father, to train him, he began to distance himself. They no longer played together, and he not only acted distant but also insulted him. There were times when he even wanted to hit him, and he could tell by his brother's gaze. A loud whip crack echoed. Argh! The loud gnashing of the young man's teeth was so strong that the hidden blonde could hear it. His back bore the marks of the lashes he received. You did it wrong. Do it again. The soldier who was training him yelled, kicking the young man and sending him to the ground. The hidden blonde felt fear and a desire to help his brother. He ran out from behind the man and kicked him, although it had no effect on the soldier, who smiled maliciously. He tightened his whip and raised it to strike, but before he could do anything, the mother of both children appeared. She not only saw her son, which horrified her, but she also saw her younger son about to be hit. She threw the food basket she was carrying at the soldier, preventing him from carrying out his cruel intention. What's wrong with you? The woman yelled. You damn idiot, you're hitting children. The furious soldier, whose armor had been dirtied by the woman's attack, tried to raise his whip, but one end got entangled around his neck, and he slammed into a tree. Before he could recover from the blow, chains suppressed his power, and another soldier stopped his intentions. I apologize, this got out of hand. It seems strange to me that Handel always came, being not a very good guy. I think it was a good idea to come, the savior spoke. Don't worry. The woman spoke calmly before being interrupted by her older son. You shouldn't have interfered. It's all your fault, you damn idiot. Nothing would have happened to me. The older boy hit the younger one hard, causing him to fall with a bleeding lip. The mother, shocked, slapped her older son to stop him from continuing to attack his younger brother. The older boy, infuriated, ran away. The mother lifted her younger son and then followed the other, but the soldier stopped her. No. Let him understand that he's the idiot. The soldier said no more and walked away with the unconscious one. The mother, with a broken heart, took her young son's hand and went back home. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Several hours had passed, and the blonde's chakra was lasting longer, with no significant changes. One day, he made significant progress, but he was still far from the goal. He repeated the same exercise every day. 3 days in, the chakra was still steady, lasting half a day without changes. 5 days, he could maintain the chakra all day long. 13 days, he could keep the chakra active for a day and a half. 20 days, the objective was achieved. The old man smiled. His chakra network was active, but he needed to use it constantly to prevent it from closing in any areas. Well, Naruto, it's been 30 days of training. I think it's time to stop and move to the next level. Before turning your chakra into a jutsu, we need you to maintain your network at 100% by activating the chakra and carrying out your daily activities with the chakra layer active for 15 days. If you miss activating it on any day, we'll start the count from 0, the old man explained. The blonde mumbled under his breath, looking angrily and frustrated at the old man in front of him. These strenuous exercises were not easy, and there were times when they almost went without food. The good thing was that he no longer had to remain still. Please, son, the woman's cries increased with each word, tears streaming down the face of the black-haired woman. The young man, no older than 18, remained silent, just gazing at his mother's pleas, her begging for him to stay. The 10-year-old blonde boy remained quiet as well, hidden on the stairs, observing the interaction between his mother and his older brother. The young man made a move to open the door, but the woman, driven by desperation, leapt to embrace him. He stopped her abruptly. "You won't stop me anymore. You prefer that thing over your own son." The young man couldn't help but shout at the woman who had given him life, cared for him, educated him, fed him. None of it seemed to matter. The woman sobbed loudly, unable to contain her devastation at her son treating her this way. Her pain only deepened when she felt the hard ground against her back as her son pushed her aside. The young man said nothing more. Angrily, he pushed his mother with his foot, clearing her from the doorway. But before he could open the door, he felt a harsh blow to his head, causing him to crash into the door itself. Half conscious, the young man got up and tried to orient himself. He found himself outside the house with a bleeding lip and a fresh wound at the back of his head. It had been a powerful blow. As he turned toward the house, he saw his brother, or rather, what used to be his brother. The blonde child held a thick, heavy stick, stained with fresh blood. The young man knew better than to challenge his younger brother, even though he was bigger. The boy discarded the stick and, from behind his back, drew a sharp, short sword stolen from one of the guards who had visited the house. The older brother, recognizing the boy's intentions, chose to retreat. The boy discarded the weapon and ran to his mother, who had witnessed the entire incident despite her tears. Neither of them said a word. One was crying, and the other was comforting the person he loved most. Hilda XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Day 1. The blonde followed his daily routine, eating, sleeping, or rather, fleeing from predators. He encountered new monsters every time. His speed, agility, and senses improved little by little, thanks to his constant physical, mental, and psychological training, instilled by the old man and nature itself. Day 8. The blonde had improved significantly. Maintaining chakra was no longer a bother, it had become entirely normal for him. Of course, he had been using it for many weeks now. Day 12. The blonde was no longer the one being pursued, he was now the one chasing or getting into fights with monsters larger than him. He had come close to losing an arm and a leg in a nasty fight. He needed to improve his defense and attack, that would be his next step. Day 15. The old man told him he could explore farther than usual as long as he didn't get lost and lose his improved shelter, more traps, a cozier cave. The blonde had marked the trees to avoid losing his way. The old man decided to leave him alone and let him go as far as he wanted. The blonde went beyond his usual radius, swinging from tree to tree, jumping, avoiding the ground, where danger lurked. He marked the trees to ensure he could find his way back home. The old man decided to leave him alone and let him explore as far as he wanted. The blonde traveled a great distance, hours away from home, until he reached a small pond. Strangely colored flowers grew on the edge of the pond. Even more astonishing was the girl, around 15 years old, picking these unusual purplish-green flowers. She had fair skin and was beautiful, though he couldn't see her face. Her silver hair was striking, and she wore strange clothes, something he had only seen in a book, a maid's outfit. "Deactivate your chakra," the old man appeared beside him. "Not yet. It doesn't matter. She'll detect you, and she won't be pleased. Though she looks harmless, she exudes a cold and malevolent aura." "I know. I'm sorry. I can feel her aura, it's much larger than mine." "You're still growing, but you understand you wouldn't stand a chance against her." Since the conversation started, the blonde had deactivated his chakra network. "It's better to retreat, Naruto. You won't, will you?" "No. I want to see her face." The elderly man sighed and stepped back, while the blonde approached, seeking a different perspective. He stepped on a branch awkwardly, nearly losing his balance. It made no noise, but when he lifted his head to see the girl, she was gone. All that remained was a basket of flowers. The blonde searched everywhere for her until he felt a chill at his feet. They quickly froze, and an icy dagger pressed against his throat. Slowly, the blonde turned his head, discovering the most beautiful sight in the world, the most gorgeous girl he had ever seen. Her features were exquisite, a petite nose, enticing lips, and beautiful eyes of a striking cerulean shade. The blonde was mesmerized, caring little for his own life. The girl felt intimidated by the blonde's intense gaze all over her face. The blush on her cheeks and the unusual markings made it obvious she had blushed because of him. In contrast, she blushed slightly at the younger boy, but that wasn't the issue. "Who are you?" she asked while pressing the dagger against the blonde's throat. "Naruto," he replied, still admiring the girl's beauty, which he deemed angelic. He remained blushing, especially when he lowered his gaze to appreciate her developing curves. He was an adolescent growing up, and it was normal to admire the opposite sex. The girl felt uncomfortable with the blonde's gaze on her body. In anger, she pressed the dagger harder and froze the blonde up to his waist. "I'll ask again, who are you?" She was ignored once more. Annoyed, she made a small cut on the blonde's neck with the dagger, not too serious but enough to bring him back to reality. The blonde winced and abruptly pushed her away, surprising her. She had forgotten to freeze his hands, but she didn't expect him to do something so obvious. "What's wrong with you? I haven't done anything to you, and you attack me. Besides, how can a servant do such things? You're not a normal servant." The girl was surprised, and her expression showed it. The blonde ran his finger over the small cut, then noticed the ice on his body and activated his chakra. An expanding wave broke the ice and pushed the girl away. She was shocked, as the blonde had pushed her without touching her. Moreover, she felt a strange, dense energy move her so forcefully that it could have hurt her if applied with ill intent. She went on guard. "You know, I think I've gotten myself into a problem here, you and I. Well, more me. I know I can't beat you, servant, so I'll do the sensible thing." "Ah!" The blonde screamed loudly. The girl was surprised. This blonde was either an idiot or had some screws loose. Besides, his clothes were dirty and torn, he was barefoot, probably a lost child or a vagabond. Why should she care? Ro-o-o-air, several roars sounded in the distance. The girl quickly felt the presence of several creatures approaching. She unleashed a wave of ice, freezing everything in front of her and where the blonde had been. But he was no longer there. A massive beast, part bear and part something else, leapt at her with the intent to decapitate her, a move repeated by the other creatures. The girl was quickly surrounded. "It's best to run with chakra and get out of here. We'll change our location. We can't afford for the girl to find us, something tells me it won't be good." "I know. Something tells me the same. We may have to move deeper into the northern mountains, far into the forest." A few days later, Naruto managed to relocate. He had to start from scratch and walk for more than 2 days to find a suitable place among the mountains. Using logic, there were 4 mountains, 2 of which were probably normal elevations, but the other 2 emitted a lot of heat. Perhaps a lava flow passed beneath or between them. They couldn't be volcanoes, those weren't found in this area. He deduced this because some trees and animals roamed around the 4 mountains, and a river crossed 3 of them. In the other, there were hot springs. So, it was most likely that the lava flow passed through there. But what guaranteed that it was lava? Digging and nearly burning his hands helped him figure things out. He found a larger cave, leading to a hidden system of caves within the mountain with more trees and life. He settled in that place after securing the area, setting traps both outside and inside his new home. He didn't want any surprises. With the old man, he deduced that civilization was nearby, and they would address that later. Right now, he needed to advance in his training. "Well, Naruto, we'll start with physical training. I couldn't help but notice a small, let's call it unusual behavior with your chakra." "What is it?" "Your chakra network entered a very strange state. It's inactive but functional. What I mean is that right now, you're not using it, so it remains dormant, as if it doesn't exist, like an ordinary human. But at the same time, it's active, waiting for you to use chakra. It's quite beneficial, you know?" "I understand what you're saying, old man. So, when I'm not using chakra, no one will notice my power. I have to use it for it to show on the outside. If I don't use it, no one will know I have it." "The truth is more complex than that. I think no one will know what you're emitting. It will be like a new type of power. Did you analyze the girl we saw? I can't quite grasp what you're telling me." "Simply put, she emitted a very strange, sinister, and evil energy. But she also had a source of power different from anything we've seen before, even in our time. She used elements, but not in their pure form. Something was producing them, something that wasn't chakra." "I see. Chakra is from our time, according to what you say. So, it's unlikely that anyone from this time has it. Maybe they use another kind of power, like magic. In the house, no one told me anything about the place we were in, but I read a book about magic, the only one that covered it. The others were about a different world than the one I see. Perhaps they were hiding this world from you for a reason, don't you think?" "I thought about that. I believe they're not like me, they emitted the same aura as the maid. Although at the time, I didn't know why I could sense that. I think we should leave it at that for now. Let's start your training. We've moved beyond level 0. Your training will be divided into 2 parts, physical and the use of your power. We'll build your physical capabilities from scratch. Currently, your physical abilities are pitiful. You can barely last without chakra before getting tired. The blonde nodded in agreement. Shall we begin? I hope you can endure this, Naruto. I won't go easy on you, the old man grinned maliciously. The blonde swallowed hard, but he wouldn't give up, so he grinned cunningly in return. Level 0. Level 0 is simple, lasting for 3 days. I will apply some basic gravity seals to your body. It may not seem like much since my power is limited compared to yours, but not all my capabilities involve this. Gravity seals? Naruto inquired. Well-applied Fuinjutsu can be truly deadly, but let's not dwell on that for now. The old man smiled, and the blonde squinted at him. The old man approached and touched Naruto's chest, causing a series of seals to appear on his body. Naruto fell heavily to the ground, sinking in, struggling to breathe. He couldn't move. He managed to turn his battered face, his lip, nose, and forehead injured from the impact. He couldn't even speak as blood mixed with saliva. I did warn you it wouldn't be easy. We need to reach level 10 in 30 days. Time won't wait for us, and we need to progress rapidly. Each training level will become progressively heavier. I just hope you won't give up. You have less than an hour to hold yourself up. I've only increased the gravity 3-fold. It's not much. A sand hourglass appeared beside the old man, and it began counting. Day 1. The first hour was tedious and excruciating, but Naruto, with dried blood on his face, maintained a stupid grin while holding himself upright under the enormous weight on his body. Congratulations. Now, walk without stopping, in wide circles, for 5 minutes. The hourglass started, rapidly depleting. I-T-O-D-U. Naruto could barely speak, let alone walk. With great effort, he started moving step by step. As each second passed, he moved more precisely and steadily. The 5 minutes went by, and he managed to complete 2 circles around the old man, who looked somewhat impressed. One more thing, you'll sleep for only 1 hour, you won't eat, only drink water. Naruto widened his eyes, looking as though they might pop out. Don't strain yourself. Your body needs to adapt, Naruto, and you know it. Naruto remained silent, which the old man took as a signal to continue. Now jog from one end to the other repeatedly for 20 minutes. The hourglass began running. Naruto began walking, then increased his pace until he managed to jog with effort. The 20 minutes felt long. You know what comes next, there's no need to say it. You have 30 minutes. The old man watched as the hourglass started again. The blonde started jogging and gradually increased his speed, running slowly but steadily. With each passing minute, he managed to go faster. The 30 minutes felt endless. Naruto, now run in place for 5 minutes. Start. The blonde followed the order, finding it increasingly easier to adjust to the new weight on his body. We'll repeat this routine throughout the day, the old man smiled, while Naruto felt like collapsing into sleep, realizing that the day had just begun. Day 2. Naruto opened his eyes and tried to get up. His body ached, weighing more than double what it did before. He had only slept for a short time, but they couldn't tell if it was day or night in their location. The immense purple sky had a dull purple moon that provided light. They deduced it was like the sun, as it brightened their surroundings, and when it retreated, it got darker. Gravity has increased to 6 times, double what it was, the old man informed him, observing from a nearby distance. Naruto stood up with great effort. Continuous training will help you progress through the levels more efficiently. What are we going to do? Naruto asked with exhaustion. You'll run for 3 hours straight without a break. Naruto exited the cave and began to jog. Once he was outside, he started running steadily. The first hour made him realize the pain, but the next 2 hours were a living hell for his feet. Very well, now you'll perform a series of exercises, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and 100 push-ups. You have an hour for each of them, just 1 hour. Naruto began, and his body felt hot after the hellish routine of basic exercises. He managed to complete them in time. Now run for another 3 hours, the old man grinned while watching the hourglass. Naruto started running, his body moving almost automatically. He hardly felt his body anymore. You'll repeat this routine 6 times over the next 4 hours. Once you finish the 3 hours of running, you'll repeat the hour of exercises, but this time it'll be 200 of each. Then you'll run for 3 hours again and repeat the hour with double the number of exercises, 400 each, and so on. Naruto simply listened, internally begging for mercy. It wasn't clear yet what his ultimate purpose was, but he wanted revenge against those who had committed the cruel act against his family. A young blond boy watched the other children play, sitting far away from them, swinging gently, feeling bored, sad, and melancholic, alone. "Mom!" The shout of another child only made him feel worse. The young blond boy ran away from their gazes, crying, tears streaming down his cheeks. Crying was the only thing that could calm him. He wished to be strong, to stop crying, to be loved, to have a family, to be happy. The young blond boy cried even harder, his thoughts spiraling into a darker place. Did nobody love him? He didn't even know who his parents were. Always alone, people avoided him, looking at him with anger and disdain, treating him like trash. Was he truly unloved? He knew so little about love. The only person who ever spoke to him was the third Hokage. That old man was the only one who talked to him, sometimes with words filled with love, or at least, that's what the young boy assumed. What could he really know? He was just a child. But that was impossible, right? He shouldn't accept it. He must be strong. So what if they didn't want him? He would prove to himself, not to others, that he was stronger. He would become Hokage, the best and strongest of them all. I am Uzumaki Naruto. I will never go back on my word. I promise to become Hokage, the best and strongest of all. His powerful declaration revitalized his spirit. He stood tall, unwavering, with his head held high, determined that no one would ever mock him or leave him behind again. Naruto Uzumaki would not be stopped.